Nyra Vale hit the ground hard as the guard shoved her forward, her knees scraping against the cold stone of the auction platform. The crowd roared with laughter. "Stand up," the auctioneer snapped. She didn't move fast enough. A boot slammed into her side. Nyra gasped, curling instinctively, arms wrapping around herself as if she could disappear into her own bones. She forced herself up anyway, because she had learned long ago that pain only got worse when she resisted. "Ladies and gentlemen," the auctioneer announced with a theatrical grin, "our final offering of the night." The torches flickered, casting cruel shadows across the hall. "She has no rank, no lineage worth naming, no dowry, no wolf." He paused for effect, letting the words sink in. "A rare defect." More laughter. Nyra kept her head down beneath the thin, dirt-stained veil covering her face. Her bare feet trembled against the cold floor, chains loose around her wrists, not for restraint, but for humiliation. Declared Wolf dead, the man continued. A burden even to her own pack. Tonight, a gift for whoever dares take her. No one spoke. Not a single bid. Of course not. She already knew how this would go. This wasn't an auction, it was a spectacle. A joke. A reminder of what happened to the broken. Nyra's fingers curled tightly around the small smooth stone hidden in her palm. It was the only thing she had managed to keep. The only piece of a life that once felt warm. Surely someone, the auctioneer began again. Then it happened. A low, bone-deep growl rolled through the hall. The sound didn't belong to any ordinary wolf. It silenced the laughter instantly. Nyra froze. So did everyone else. The air shifted, heavy, suffocating, electric. Enough. The single word cut through the room like a blade. Nyra didn't need to see him to know who had spoken. Rhydian Thorn. The Lycan king. Even the guard stepped back. Even the auctioneer swallowed hard. "My king," he stammered, bowing quickly. "We meant no offense. This is merely." I said enough. This time, the growl beneath the words was unmistakable. Something ancient. Dangerous. Nyra's heart began to pound. She didn't understand why. She had seen powerful men before. Cruel men. Unpredictable men. But this felt different. "Clear the hall," Rhydian ordered. No one argued. No one hesitated. Chairs scraped. Footsteps rushed. Within seconds, the noise dissolved into silence, leaving only the crackling of torches and Nyra's unsteady breathing. She didn't lift her head. She didn't dare. The sound of footsteps approached slow, deliberate. Each one sent a ripple of fear through her body. He stopped in front of her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, "Look at me." Nyra flinched. Her body reacted before her mind could. She shook her head slightly, instinct screaming at her to stay small, invisible, untouched. Silence stretched. Then his voice came again, but softer. "Please." That single word confused her more than anything else. "Please?" Her throat tightened. Slowly, hesitantly, Nyra lifted her head just enough for the veil to shift. A hand rose toward her. She braced. Her shoulders tensed. Her breath caught. But the touch never came. "May I?" he asked. Nyra blinked. Her mind struggled to catch up. No one asked her permission. Not ever. The world seemed to tilt. She didn't answer, not with words. She didn't know how. But she didn't pull away either. That was enough. Rhydian's fingers moved carefully, almost reverently, as he lifted the veil from her face. The moment it fell away, the air changed again. His breath hitched. Nyra saw it, just for a second. Shock. Not disgust. Not disappointment. Shock. Her lips parted slightly, confused. Why was he looking at her like that? His eyes searched her face, taking in the bruises, the split lip, the fading marks of old injuries layered beneath new ones. Something dark flickered in his expression. Anger. But not at her. "What did they do to you?" he murmured. Nyra's chest tightened. The question made no sense. Everyone knew what had been done to her. That was the point. She lowered her gaze again, retreating into herself. Silence lingered between them. Then his attention shifted to the chains around her wrists. "They bound you for display," he said quietly. She flinched as his hand moved again. "Don't," she whispered, the word barely audible. He froze instantly. "I won't hurt you," he said. She had heard that before. Too many times. Her fingers tightened around the stone in her palm. "I just want to remove them," he added, voice steady. Nyra swallowed. Her heart raced, torn between instinct and something unfamiliar. Something dangerous. Hope. She didn't nod. But she didn't pull away. Carefully, slowly, Rhydian reached forward and loosened the chains. They fell away with a soft clatter. Nyra stared at her wrists as if she didn't recognize them without the weight. For a moment, she didn't move. Didn't breathe. Nyra. Her name. She stiffened. "How do you?" "I know who you are," he said. Of course he did. Everyone knew. The broken one. The useless one. The wolf she couldn't become. "You're coming with me," he said. Panic surged instantly. "No." The word escaped before she could stop it. "Please don't send me back." Her voice cracked. The fear was raw. Uncontrolled. Rhydian's expression hardened, not at her, but at something behind her. "Look at me," he said again. She hesitated, but this time she obeyed. "You are not going back," he said firmly. "Not to them. Not ever." Her breath hitched. She searched his face for deception, for cruelty, for the twist that always came after words like that. She didn't find it. And that terrified her even more. Because if he wasn't lying, then what was this? "What do you want from me?" she asked, voice trembling. His answer came without hesitation. "Nothing you don't choose to give." Nyra stared at him. The words didn't make sense. Nothing in her world had ever worked that way. Before she could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the entrance. A man was dragged forward, struggling against two guards. Warlord Kale Draven. Nyra's entire body went rigid. Her breathing turned shallow. "No," she whispered. Kale's eyes locked onto her and then shifted to Rhydian. Realization dawned. Fear followed. "My king," Kale said quickly, dropping to one knee. "This is a misunderstanding. She is nothing." Silence. The word hit like a physical force. Kale's mouth snapped shut. Rhydian's presence filled the room, suffocating, absolute. "You brought her here as an insult," he said coldly. Kale swallowed. "She is wolf dead," he insisted weakly. "Worthless." The growl that answered him was inhuman. Nyra felt it in her bones. "You will not speak of her that way again," Rhydian said. Kale's face paled. Nyra's heart pounded wildly. This wasn't real. None of this was real. "Take him," Rhydian ordered. The guards didn't hesitate. Kale struggled this time. "My king, please, she is nothing, you don't understand." Nyra flinched at his voice. Rhydian stepped forward. "And you," he said quietly, "don't understand what you've done." Kale's protests were cut off as he was dragged away. Silence fell again. Nyra stood frozen in the center of it, her thoughts spinning. "Come," Rhydian said, turning back to her. She didn't move. He didn't reach for her. Didn't force her. He simply waited. After a long moment, Nyra took a single, uncertain step forward. Then another. She didn't know why. She didn't trust him. She didn't trust anyone. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't being dragged. And somehow, that felt more terrifying than anything else. As she followed him out of the hall, her fingers tightened around the stone in her palm. Something inside her stirred. Not fully awake. Not yet. But no longer completely silent. Nyra expected to be thrown into another room. Another cage. Another place where silence meant survival. Instead, the doors opened into warmth. Soft light. No chains. No guards waiting to strike. She stopped just inside the threshold, her body refusing to go further. Rhydian noticed immediately. "You can stay there," he said calmly. "No one will force you." Her eyes flicked to him, searching. Still nothing. No mockery. No impatience. Just space. Nyra took a slow breath and stepped in, every movement cautious, like the ground might give way beneath her. The doors closed quietly behind them. She flinched anyway. "Habit?" Rhydian asked. She didn't answer. Didn't know how. A woman approached from the far side of the room, older, composed, her presence steady rather than overwhelming. "This is Melis," Rhydian said. "She's the royal healer." Nyra tensed instantly. "No," she whispered, taking a step back. "No more." Millie stopped where she was. "I won't touch you," she said gently. Nyra's breath came fast. "They always say that," she replied, voice shaking. Melis didn't move closer. "Then I'll say something different," she said. "You decide what happens next." Nyra froze. Again, that word. Decide. It felt foreign. Heavy. Rhydian moved to the side, giving her space instead of closing it. "If you want to leave," he said, "you can." Her head snapped toward him. "Leave? Where?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. Because there wasn't anywhere. They both knew it. Nyra swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around the stone. "I'll stay," she said finally, her voice small but steady. "Just don't come close." Melis inclined her head. "Then I'll observe from here." The examination felt strange. No hands. No force. Just questions. "How long since you last attempted to shift?" Melis asked. Nyra hesitated. "I don't remember." "That's all right." "Do you feel anything when the moon is high?" Nyra's chest tightened. "No." The word came out too quickly. Too practiced. Melis watched her carefully. "Nothing at all," she pressed. Nyra's gaze dropped. "There used to be something," she admitted quietly. "A feeling. Like someone was there." Her throat closed. But it stopped. Silence stretched. Melis exchanged a brief glance with Rhydian before speaking again. "It didn't stop," she said softly. Nyra shook her head immediately. "It did. It hid." Nyra went still. The words sank in slowly. "What?" she whispered. Melis took a careful step forward, just one. Nyra didn't retreat this time. "Your wolf didn't die," Melis said. "It withdrew." "Why would it do that?" Nyra asked, confusion and something sharper creeping into her voice. "To survive," Melis answered. The room felt too quiet. Too heavy. Nyra's mind tried to reject it. "No," she said, shaking her head. "They told me." "They were wrong." Nyra's breath hitched. Rhydian watched her closely, but didn't interrupt. "If what you're saying is true," Nyra began, her voice trembling, "then why can't I feel it?" Melis's expression softened. "Because it doesn't feel safe," she said. The words hit harder than any blow. Nyra staggered slightly, her back hitting the wall behind her. Safe. She didn't remember what that felt like. "I can't just call it back," she whispered. "No," Melis agreed. "You can't." Hope flickered and died just as quickly. "Then what's the point?" Nyra asked. Rhydian stepped forward slightly, not close enough to threaten, but enough to ground the space. "The point," he said, "is that you're not broken." Nyra laughed weakly. The sound cracked halfway through. "You don't know that," she said. "I do," he replied. She looked at him then, really looked. "Why?" she demanded. "Why do you care?" The question hung between them. Rhydian's jaw tightened slightly. "My wolf chose you," he said. Nyra flinched. There it was. The catch. "I didn't choose you," she shot back, panic rising again. I don't." "You don't have to," he said quickly. She blinked. Thrown off balance. "I won't force a bond," he continued. "Not now. Not ever." Nyra stared at him, trying to find the lie. She couldn't. and that terrified her more than anything else. Before she could respond, the doors opened again. This time, the energy that entered was sharp, cold, authority wrapped in judgment. 3 figures stepped inside. The High Council. Nyra instinctively stepped back, her shoulders curling inward. Rhydian's expression darkened. "This is not a council matter," he said. "It became one the moment you claimed her," the tallest of them replied. Elder Varkos. His gaze slid over Nyra with thinly veiled disdain. "This is the one?" he asked. Nyra's stomach twisted. She lowered her head again. "She is my mate," Rhydian said. "Allegedly," Varkos replied. The word cut. Rhydian's presence sharpened instantly. "Choose your next words carefully," he warned. But Varkos didn't back down. "A Luna without a wolf," he continued. "An impossibility. A disgrace to the throne." Nyra's chest tightened. "Here it comes." She knew this part. Rhydian stepped forward, placing himself slightly between them. "She is not wolf dead," he said. Varkos raised a brow. "Oh? Then where is it?" Silence answered him. Nyra's hands trembled. Millie spoke instead. "Her wolf is suppressed," she said. "Not gone." The council members exchanged looks. "That changes nothing," another one said. "If it cannot be summoned, it may as well not exist." Nyra's breathing grew uneven. Rhydian's voice dropped lower. "It will return." Varkos studied him carefully. "Then prove it." The words settled like a sentence. "A trial," he continued. "1 lunar cycle. Under the full moon, she calls her wolf." Nyra's heart stopped. "If she succeeds," Varkos said, "we acknowledge her." "And if she doesn't?" Rhydian asked, already knowing the answer. Varkos's gaze shifted to Nyra. "She is released from your claim," he said, "and returned to her pack." The room spun. Nyra's vision blurred. No. Her back hit the wall again. Her breath came in sharp, broken bursts. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't go back." Rhydian turned to her immediately. "You won't," he said. But the council wasn't finished. "You are bound by law," Varkos reminded him. "Even kings are not above it." Rhydian's fists clenched. For a moment, it looked like he might refuse. Like he might tear the entire system apart. Nyra watched him. Waited. He exhaled slowly. "Fine," he said at last, each word edged with restraint. 1 cycle. Nyra's stomach dropped. The council nodded. "Then it is decided." They turned and left as quickly as they had come. The doors closed. Silence followed. Heavy. Crushing. Nyra slid down the wall, her legs giving out beneath her. "I can't do this," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "There's nothing there. I tried for years." Rhydian crouched a few feet away, not touching, not crowding. "Then we'll find it together," he said. She shook her head violently. "You don't understand. When I try, it's just empty. Like something was ripped out of me." Millie knelt on her other side, still keeping distance. "It wasn't ripped out," she said gently. "It's waiting." Nyra laughed again, hollow this time. "For what?" Melis's gaze softened. "For you to feel safe enough to let it return." Nyra's eyes burned. Safe. That word again. It felt impossible. Weeks passed. Training began. If it could even be called that. There were no harsh commands. No punishments. Just attempts. "Close your eyes," Melis instructed one morning. Nyra sat stiffly, her hands clenched in her lap. "Breathe," Melis continued. Nyra inhaled shakily. "Now listen," Melis said. "Not with your ears. With yourself." Nyra tried. Gods, she tried. But every time she reached inward, there was nothing. Just silence. "I can't," she said after a while, her voice breaking. Rhydian, seated nearby, didn't look disappointed. "Then we try again tomorrow," he said simply. That was it. No anger. No punishment. Just patience. It didn't make sense. It made her uneasy. It made her want to run. And yet, she stayed. Another day, they walked the forest. Nyra kept her distance. Always just out of reach. Rhydian matched her pace without closing the gap. "You don't have to be afraid of me," he said at one point. She let out a small, humorless breath. "I'm afraid of everything," she admitted. He didn't deny it. "Fair," he said. That almost made her smile. Almost. Days turned into weeks. And still, nothing. The full moon loomed closer. The pressure grew heavier. One night, Nyra stopped walking altogether. "I can't do this," she said. Rhydian turned to her. "You've said that before," he replied. "And I meant it every time," she snapped. Silence fell. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. "There's nothing there," she continued, her voice rising. "I look, and it's just empty. What if they're right? What if I am broken?" The words hung in the air. Rhydian stepped closer this time. Not enough to trap. Just enough to be heard. "Then we redefine what whole means," he said. Nyra stared at him. "You can't just rewrite everything," she said. "Watch me," he replied quietly. Her breath caught. "You'd do that?" she asked. "For you," he said. "Yes." Nyra looked away quickly, overwhelmed. "I don't understand you," she admitted. "You don't have to," he said. The full moon arrived faster than she was ready for. The clearing was already filled when they arrived. The entire court watched, waiting, judging. Nyra's hands trembled at her sides. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely think. "This is it," she whispered. Rhydian stood beside her. Not touching. Just there. "Do you trust me?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. She hesitated. Then, "A little," she admitted. It was the most honest answer she could give. He nodded. "That's enough," he said. Nyra stepped forward into the center of the clearing. The moonlight bathed her in silver. All eyes were on her, waiting for her to fail. Her chest tightened. Her breath came shallow. Nothing. Still nothing. Panic clawed up her throat. "I can't," she started. Then she stopped. Because for the first time, she didn't feel fear alone. There was something else. Faint. Fragile. But there. She closed her eyes, took a shaky breath, and whispered, "I'm safe now." Silence. "You can come back." For a second, nothing happened. Then, pain exploded through her body. Nyra screamed as her knees hit the ground, her entire body locking, shifting, breaking. And something long buried finally answered. Nyra's scream tore through the clearing, raw and unrestrained, as her body convulsed under the force of something breaking free. Bones cracked. Air shattered in her lungs. Her fingers clawed at the earth as if she could hold herself together, but she couldn't. Not anymore. "Nyra." Rhydian's voice cut through the chaos, but he didn't move to stop it. He couldn't. This was hers. All of it. The pain surged again, sharper this time, deeper. Not just physical. Memories flooded in. The beatings. The nights she curled into herself, wishing to disappear. The voice in her head that had slowly gone silent. The part of her that had learned to hide just to survive. "I'm here," she gasped, tears streaming down her face. "I'm here. I didn't leave you." Something inside her answered. Not in words. In presence. In warmth. In recognition. And then, it broke through. Light burst outward, blinding, fierce, undeniable. The crowd staggered back. Gasps echoed across the clearing. Nyra's body shifted, bones reshaping, muscles stretching, her cry transforming into something deeper, stronger. A howl. When the light faded, she stood where the broken girl once knelt. But she was no longer the same. Her wolf emerged in full form, luminous, pale as moonlight, her fur glowing with a soft, ethereal sheen. Power rolled off her in quiet waves, not violent, not cruel, but ancient. Alive. The clearing fell into stunned silence. No, someone whispered. It's not possible. But it was. Nyra, no, her wolf, lifted its head, silver eyes scanning the crowd with calm awareness. Not fear. Not submission. Awareness. Rhydian didn't hesitate. He stepped forward and shifted. Darkness rippled across his form, massive and commanding, his wolf towering and shadowed, a stark contrast to her light. They faced each other. Still. Silent. And then, recognition. It wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet. Certain. Like something that had always been meant to exist finally falling into place. Their wolves moved closer. Step by step. Until they stood side by side. And in that moment, the bond locked. A ripple of energy surged outward, washing over the clearing, pressing into every wolf present. The message was clear. Unchallengeable. Mate. The council lowered their heads first. Elder Varco stepped forward slowly, his expression no longer filled with doubt, but something closer to reverence. We acknowledge her, he said. No one argued. No one dared. Nyra shifted back, the transformation gentler this time, her body folding into itself until she stood once more in human form. Barefoot. Breathing hard. Alive. Rhydian shifted moments later, stepping toward her, but stopping just short. Always that distance. Always that choice. Nyra looked at him, her chest still rising and falling. I felt her, she whispered, almost in disbelief. Rhydian's expression softened. I know. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. She was just waiting, Nyra said. For you, he replied. The weeks that followed felt unreal. Not because everything changed overnight, but because for the first time, nothing was taken from her. Kale Draven's trial was swift. Nyra didn't attend. She didn't need to. The outcome reached her anyway. Stripped of rank. Exiled. Alone. A punishment worse than death for someone like him. She expected to feel something when she heard. Relief. Anger. Satisfaction. But instead, she felt nothing. And that, somehow, felt like freedom. The first time Nyra returned to what used to be her pack lands, the air felt different. Quieter. Lighter. The walls that once held fear now felt empty. She stood at the edge of the ruins, her fingers brushing the stone still clutched in her hand. You don't have to go in, Rhydian said from behind her. She turned slightly. I know, she replied. And for once, she meant it. She stepped forward anyway. Not because she was forced. Not because she needed to prove anything. But because she could. Each step felt easier than the last. The memories were still there. But they didn't control her anymore. They didn't own her. When she finally turned back, there was no weight in her chest. No tightness in her lungs. Just space. Rhydian watched her carefully. You're quiet, he said. Nyra tilted her head slightly. I used to think silence meant something was wrong, she said. And now? She looked out at the open land. Now it just feels peaceful. Something in his expression shifted at that. Not pride. Not possession. Something softer. Later, back at the palace, Nyra found herself standing in the garden. It had become a place she returned to often. Not because she had to, but because she liked it. The air was cool, the soil soft beneath her fingers as she knelt, turning over a small patch of earth. Rhydian approached quietly, stopping a few steps away. What are you doing? He asked. Nyra didn't look up right away. Planting something, she said. What kind? She hesitated, then gave a small shrug. I don't know yet. He stepped a little closer. Something specific? This time, she glanced at him. Something that blooms in winter, she said. Rhydian raised a brow slightly. That's unusual. Nyra smiled faintly. So am I. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It wasn't something to survive. It was something to exist inside. Comfortably. Rhydian lowered himself to sit beside her, not too close. Never too close. Not unless she closed the distance first. And slowly, she did. Just a little. Barely noticeable. But enough. Her shoulder brushed his. She didn't pull away. Neither did he. I used to think I was empty, Nyra said quietly. Rhydian turned his head slightly, listening. I thought something inside me was missing, she continued. Like everyone else got something I didn't. Her fingers tightened slightly in the soil. But she was there the whole time, Nyra said. I just couldn't reach her. Because you weren't safe, he said. Nyra nodded. Then looked at him. You didn't fix me, she added. Rhydian blinked slightly. I know, he said. She smiled softly. You just gave me space to find myself again. That, more than anything, seemed to affect him. The quiet settled again. But this time, it carried something new. Not fear. Not uncertainty. Something steady. Growing. Nyra brushed her hands together, then looked down at the small stone still resting in her palm. She turned it over once. Twice. Then pressed it gently into the soil. A marker. A beginning. Rhydian watched her. Are you going to stay? He asked after a moment. Nyra looked out at the horizon, the light stretching across the land. Then back at him. I'm not running anymore, she said. It wasn't a grand declaration. It didn't need to be. It was enough. And somewhere deep inside her, her wolf stirred. Not restless. Not afraid. Just content. If you made it this far, it means Nyra's journey held you just as tightly as it held her. Stories like this remind us that healing isn't instant, and strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it returns quietly when it finally feels safe enough to exist. If you felt that, don't just scroll away. Take a second to like the video, drop a comment telling me your favorite moment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we almost didn't survive.